till I die, Spurs diehards. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Spurs diehards. Tottenham till I die.
Hello and welcome to the regular Sunday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID. I'm hosting tonight because Ian's in Sorrento, Spain and wasn't sure whether he could make it. So with that explanation out of the way, we'll move on. And we've got quite a European flavour to the guest panel because even if you include my co-host and fellow reprobate Ian, I mean like who is in Italy, we've got Martin Frank, who's turning out to be a good friend of the show, is in Slovakia. And we've got Phil, who's in Frankfurt, Germany. So I nearly got me. I must change these teeth. I'm breaking them in for sugar, right? So yeah, those of you can remember that horse, right? Yeah. So we're going to talk about the game. Obviously, normally what I do is we discuss the lineup, then we discuss the substitutes, then I let the guys talk about the first half, then they talk about the second half. Then I go for a synopsis of the game. We can go over anything that they may have missed or already talked about. You know, we're going to finish with a fun section, which the chat can join in because we want to involve the chat a bit more on our shows. And yeah, you know, that's about it. So without further ado, because I don't like to do long intros, I'll introduce Martin. How are you? How's the weather in Slovakia? Is it as sunny as it is behind you?
Hello, everyone. It actually was during the day as sunny as it is behind me. But tonight it's meant to be some frost during the night. But apart from that, it's been a good weekend. Well, up until, the City result. But before that, I was quite disappointed that we had conceded last minute, which we will get into. But lovely to see Philip and lovely to see both of you. And thank you for having me on once again.
Well, after that compliment you gave me last time, we was going to get you back anyway. So, yeah. So, Phil, how's things in Frankfurt? Sun shining or?
Yeah, the sun's been shining here, to be honest. It's been quite mild.
Mm-hmm.
The outdoor tennis season has just started. So I've been having my first matches, my first games this weekend. So that's been nice. And yeah, obviously the game yesterday, well, we'll talk about that. And yeah, my weekend also got a lot better generally after that Man City result. I'm not going to lie. I always enjoy it when that lot lose. So I know we're in a terrible predicament generally as a club, but what do they call it here in Germany? A bit of Schadenfreude,
yeah,
which is impossible to translate, but I think everyone knows what it means,
Yeah.
And I'll take whatever we can at the moment. So,
and Ian, have you been photosynthesizing on a Italian beach drinking sickly cocktails or what?
I have not been here since 1972. Actually, when we went looking to come to the Amalfi Coast, the brochure, and I don't do package holidays, said Hotel Bristol in Sorrento. Thought, my God, I know that hotel. It's fabulous. The sun is shining. The wine and the beer is flowing. There's a great Irish bar just 15 minutes away in the town, showing every game going, including yesterday's that we'll talk about. Came off the boat from Positano into the pub just as the Man City Arsenal game was kicking off. I need to go. I think I might need to move and sit somewhere else. Just give me a minute.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
but other than that, yeah, everything
Okay.
Everything is great. We'll talk about the football in a minute.
We will. We're going to get into that now. So, Martin, this was the team. I think. I mean, look, I'm in the mud. My team was nothing like this, right? So, what was your thoughts when you see the team? Not after the result, obviously. What was your pre-match thoughts? Was you surprised as I was?
Yeah, I was definitely. Me and Philip discussed it yesterday. I was very surprised with multiple positions. So, of course, the back line sort of picks itself, doesn't it, right now in this time of season? But the fact that Bentancur went right into the team, the fact that Yves Bissouma went into the team, replacing Archie Gray, who we have praised. But to be fair, we did see the big difference in quality on the ball and also the composure and experience with Bissouma and Bentancur in there. I was also surprised to see Conor Gallagher as the 10. I was expecting him to start, but not as the 10. I was expecting him to start as the 8. My prediction was Xavi Simons in that 10 position. And yeah, I was kind of surprised Kolo Muani started. But to be fair, with the cameo that I saw of Matisse Tel, I was a little bit disappointed with Matisse Tel when he came on. But overall, I think Roberto De Zerbi took a risk and it ended up almost working. So, credit where credit is due. And I think Roberto De Zerbi almost got it spot on. So I was just as surprised as you were. And I guarantee, I think about half the fan base or more were surprised with that lineup. But it's much better than, the sort of pragmatic lineups that we've been seeing in recent months from the previous managers. So the only two surprises were Matisse Tel and Archie Gray left on the bench for me. And I was also very happy that James Maddison made it onto the bench. That caught a surprise for me. I wasn't expecting him to be on the bench. So that was pleasurable to see as well. And overall, like you mentioned, you summed it up perfectly. A big surprise that was.
Phil, your take on the lineup when you see it?
Yeah, similar. I mean, I think the defence picked itself, didn't it really? At the moment, with Danzo coming in for Romero, Oren Udogie being fit. I mean, I was surprised that Bissouma and Bentancur and Gallagher started the game. I had heard that Bentancur was back in training and was fit. I did wonder whether he might come straight in. I didn't expect him to play, both Bentancur and Bissouma, realistically. But when the lineup came out and I saw that midfield, and look, I've been, obviously praising Archie Gray since he joined Spurs, like every week, as a lot of us have been, including Ian, of course, as well, right? Who, Archie Gray's the future of this club. Bergval's obviously fit again as well. But when I saw that lineup, I must say I was happy with it. Like I thought, look, Bentancur is fit. He's going to bring more control into the game. I was on his back as well at the beginning of the season when he was playing with Palhinha or when Thomas Frank was playing him. I didn't think that Bentancur was really affecting games that much. However, I guess we could say in hindsight that the tactics were just not really, working at all from Thomas Frank. But I was pleased with the lineup. And yeah, as Martin just said, I was a bit frustrated, a bit annoyed that Tel wasn't starting. I did get that Xavi would probably play off the left. I don't generally have a problem with that. I think in the right, if we're putting the right team out, I think it's okay because he's going to come inside anyway, right? And he can get the ball off the left. Don't have a massive issue with that. I prefer him to play as a number 10. I think in the middle from the start, but I'm okay with him playing off the left. So I was fine with that. But yeah, would have been nice to see Tel start the game, I think, because he's probably the only winger we have, really, if I can call him a winger, who actually is able to kind of properly make something happen down the wing, whether it is cutting outside or interacting with an Udogie or even, trying to have a shot right from long distance. Muani, Solanke, yeah, it's normal. So I was surprised, but I was happy, to be honest. I was happy with the team. I thought it was daring, and I liked the fact that De Zerbi kind of, said, right, let's go for it, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, De Zerbi's obviously put a lot of thought into this lineup. I mean, I wouldn't have picked it in a million years.
No. I like Hugh was I'm like most people was a bit surprised to see Biss and Bentancur there in particular. Although in fairness, the midfield last week at Sunderland didn't work. Graham Bergvall didn't work, and as Martin has alluded to, I'm a massive Archie Gray fan. I think he's the future of this club. I think he's a future England international, and I despair when people, you know, on social media say, you know, Archie Gray is everything that's wrong with Tottenham Hotspur. No, Archie Gray is everything that's right with Tottenham Hotspur. There's a lot of other things that are. I also agree with the boys about Moani. I know that Zerbi's a fan, but being a fan and actually analysing what he's doing, particularly compared to Tello, I think has got a little bit more about him. But, I mean, he made that change, and we'll have to see what he does next week at Wolverhampton. The one, I think, fundamental point I want to make is we are going to go down unless we address two fundamentals here. One, we concede too many goals. And the reality is we concede 2 or more goals every game. And secondly, we don't score enough goals, and we rarely score 2 or more. And unless both of those issues are addressed, like this week, we will get relegated. But what to me is really important about yesterday was that the players had the right attitude. And to be honest with you, I don't care what 11 goes out there. I want 11 that are prepared to die for the shirt, to really play for the cause. And those boys did it yesterday in abundance. Even Romero cheering from the sidelines. Xavi's reaction when he scored what we hoped would be the winner. We'll no doubt come on to that. Those boys were giving everything, and particularly players like Bissouma and Bentancur, who haven't played in a long time, gave absolutely everything. Gallagher probably had...
Oh, you've just frozen.
Not actually...
No, it's all right. You're right. You froze for a second.
Solanke put in a hell of a shift, but doesn't look like scoring enough goals. But look, some of these things can hopefully still be addressed. There was a big improvement on the Sunderland game. The attitude was 100% right, and it's going to have to be 200% right in the next few games. Otherwise, we will get relegated. But there's chance for someone else. And this team is capable of winning football matches. The players are good enough to win football matches.
Yeah, my take on the lineup, I mean, I wouldn't play Bissouma anyway. I didn't think he was that great. I thought Gallagher was a bit better than we've seen of late. But, you know, I mean, as for Moani, I wouldn't have played Moani anyway. You know, I would have started Tell. He's not a natural winger, but he does give us width on the wing, right? I mean, so unless you're going to try the failed experiment of putting Richarlison out there again, Martin I mean, we've all mentioned Gray. We all seem to be, you know, in the Gray Defence League. Yeah. Do you think there's a case for a fact that he might have just rested him because he's praised Gray, he praised Bergvall, he's praised Tell, he's praised Xavi, you know? So do you think he's rested him? He has played a few games on the spin, but we're also to counteract that or caveat that. I mean, like, we are having a week's rest between games.
Yeah, exactly this. And I think that wasn't rested. I think that was planned. I think maybe Roberto De Zerbi sees Yves Bissouma as someone who has played for Brighton, who implements a very similar style to what Roberto De Zerbi is trying to play on the front foot. So maybe he sees Yves Bissouma as equipped better, you know, maybe technically than Archie Gray right now. And I'd say what is missing with Archie Gray right now that it won't be missing in the future is his experience. And I think we saw that with the substitutes when we had Lucas Bergvall and Archie Gray in the middle, and you know, we couldn't hold on the ball, we couldn't string passes, and we were just putting a lot of pressure on ourselves when there was some time to sort of, you know, put the foot off the gas and make sure that Brighton aren't counter-attacking us every 2 seconds. So with Archie Gray, I think it wasn't that he was resting. I think he saw this as a, you know, tactical style that he tried to implement with Bentancur together. But I think Roberto De Zerbi will be experimenting a lot in these final games, and we could potentially see Archie Gray right back in the lineup against Wolverhampton Wanderers on Saturday. So I wouldn't look too deep into it. And Archie Gray has been, you know, fantastic, arguably the best player of our season. But to be fair, I actually thought that Yves Bissouma played a decent game. That, the fact that he's been injured, the fact that he's been out, I thought that he did okay. I thought that he did what was necessary. Under pressure, making a lot of calm decisions, and that's what we've been lacking, because we have struggled to string passes under the previous managers, if we remember. And I thought that we were much more confident on the ball, and I think Bissouma and Bentancur helped the cause.
Phil, though, with Bissouma, I'm not a fan. I'm on record. I nicknamed him Laughing Gas. I'll support him while he's at the club, like I will every player and manager, right? But again, he gets his mandatory yellow card. You can't tell me it doesn't. And there was times when you see he wanted to go into a tackle and he wouldn't go in for a tackle. He's got to be more disciplined than that. I mean, like, he tripped the guy from behind. I mean, like, if that player had been on through on goal, he'd have gone, But, I mean, are you a Bissouma fan? I mean, like, and the fact he did play a season with De Zerbi as well. So that may be part of the influence there. You're mute, Phil.
Sorry. Yeah, I think that Bissouma's got a relationship with De Zerbi, obviously from Brighton. That was De Zerbi's second game. I think in the first game, he'd only had a week with the players, and I think he may have just thought, I'm going to kind of stick with the core that we've been playing recently, especially with that midfield that we played against Sunderland, which didn't really work in that game. I think he picked him like yesterday because he knows him from the past, and I think he's probably spent a week getting to know the players better, and that he also made it a bit of a tactical decision as well, like to pick him, because look, I mean, I'm not Bissouma's biggest fan either, based on what he's kind of done or what he hasn't done with us, since joining, apart from, pretty much those first 10 games under Ange, right? Or like when we obviously had the Ange honeymoon period, or even probably most of that season, he was pretty good, wasn't he? I think, like when we just signed him, there was moments of games where he looked like a 50-60 million pound player. I think we paid like 30 for him or something, or 35, I can't remember. But like, there is that Bissouma that played so well at Brighton. He's never really shown up for us on duration. And the fact is, though, is that there is a special player in there in some shape or form, and it's all about application, responsibility, attitude, decision making, consistency, all those kind of things, a work rate. To be honest, a lot of those have been questionable with Bissouma. But what we can't.
Can I come in here, Phil?
Yeah.
Sorry. Can I come in, because I think you raise a really good point, and things like this are starting to resonate, that you start to give further thought to. Is how many of these really promising players like Bissouma, when we signed Bissouma, how many thought for 25 million or whatever we paid for it, we got an absolute bargain? And how many of these players have actually got better when they've come to Tottenham, and how many have actually gone backwards? This is something I'll be wanting to run shows, lead shows in the summer about the whole culture of the club. But Bissouma's a classic example, Phil, of a player that came with massive potential, that was bought. I don't mind buying cheap if you're buying good cheap, but we end up paying 25 million for a player who would probably end up having to give away in the summer, who should have been a 50-60 million pound player. And it happens too often.
Well, to caveat that, Ian, I mean, like Bentancur and Kulusevski were steals.
We have had some players that have obviously gone on and had a career or improved, especially those players who, like Bissouma. I mean, he's what? Is he 29 now? So, he's hardly retirement age, is he, like for the Premier League? But he's not 21 anymore. When we signed him, he was kind of mid-20s, or early to mid-20s, whatever. And he was kind of at his peak. He'd obviously made it in the Premier League. He hadn't played anywhere else, like the top level. But, so many players we have signed, they just don't push on, or they regress even. And I mean, we can list them on more than one hand, and Bissouma is one of those. And, he's had so many questionable incidents throughout his career, especially in the last 2 years, where just a lot of fans have just said, well, I've had enough of this guy. You know, I don't want him to play for my club anymore. You know, we've tried to kind of move him on. It hasn't worked out. What I would say about him, and yeah, as you said, Ian, that whole discussion around, well, we can probably discuss why that's the case, right? Again, in that whole ENIC, whole leadership, whole culture, whole squad buildings, whole everything. That's like a discussion for one whole pod, or even a multitude of pods with different chapters.
Absolutely.
But like with Basuma, I think what he does offer, though, he offers something that we don't really have in the rest of the squad. If you look at the rest of our midfielders, like if a relatively fit Basuma and a relatively motivated Basuma is kind of playing, his profile, his player profile, we don't have anyone else like that, I think, who has the ability to kind of pick up the ball, turn,
Carry
you know, either drive forward with it, ideally carry it, but like maybe even obviously dribble past a few players, you know, like Dembele used to do. And he's certainly no Dembele, but he can do that. You know, he can break the line. We don't really have anyone else that can do that. And I think that Bissouma can offer that. And De Zerbi, he knows him, probably playing against Brighton, playing against Bissouma's old club. He also thought, well, that's going to motivate Bissouma, right? To play against his old club. So I'll put him in there and we'll see what he does. And look, as to his performance, I actually thought he did all right in the first half. I thought he played pretty well. But unfortunately, he picked up that stupid yellow card, which was reckless. He didn't need to get that yellow card. And as soon as he got that yellow card, he was a marked man, wasn't he? You could see he didn't want to go into challenges. He was he started shirking, and he got progressively worse, I think, after that. And look, I think he tired as well. But look, I thought he did all right. I thought him and Bentancur did all right. Together with Gallagher in that kind of three, however you want to position it. And probably if you compare it to our midfield at the end of the game, although I do put more on Bentancur going off as being more of an issue, but we weren't as strong at the end of the game in terms of control. But look, Bissouma's not going to surely he's not going to get a new contract with the club. I mean, he's out of contract in unless if we go down and De Zerbi believes that because of his relationship with him, you know, he can get him to perform in the Championship. It could be a valid point, maybe, if we go down. If we don't go down, there's a new chance he stays.
Yeah, and it appears to me that the kids, if you take Odebert, Tell, Xavi, Gray, Bergvall, although they're all still developing, they've shown a lot more fight than these experienced players are. A lot more tenacity.
Yeah, and you can exemplify that by the way Bergvall won the ball back
for the goal,
for Xavi's goal. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we are starting to talk about end of season because we will have to talk, I think, a lot about where the club goes. However this season finishes, this is an absolute pivotal or a turning point in the club's history, one way or the other. Sorry, I'll put my finger in front. And when you look at players like, you know, Moussa Dembele, not an easy player to replace, but not been replaced. Harry Kane, with the best will in the world, Richarlison and Solanke are not in his class, just not remotely close. I know it's not easy to get those players, but maybe Mason Melia will be the player. Christian Eriksen, Dele Alli, Heung-min Son, constant over the last 5-6 years where players have left the club, good players have left the club and not been replaced by anything close. It is an absolute, a real frustration at where we've got to. Dembele, did he leave? Did he pack up a little bit too early? Maybe he did. But the reality is some of these players are just not of the class. And coupled with a philosophy that, you know, top 4, top 6 is good enough and what have you. I said Spurs TV. I'm not sure which one this is. It's not Graham, is it? I don't think. I think that's right. You get a yellow card, and you're probably, and I would imagine with what's happened with a number of yellow, silly red cards we've had that have been so costly. Van der Ven's at home to Crystal Palace, Romero's away at Manchester United. I would imagine that De Zerbi was absolutely insistent. Do not give the referee an opportunity to put us down to 10 men. This is a hard game, 11 against 11, 11 against 11, without it being 11 against 10. Stay on the park, keep your discipline, no stupid fouls, no stupid yellow cards for dissent or kicking the ball away. You saw what happened to the boy in for Madrid in Munich on Wednesday night. So yeah, and it was a silly yellow card, and there's a lot of silly yellow cards. But I suspect I agree with Spurs TV 8947 Graham. If it's you, apologies. But it will impact a player. I've no doubt it will impact a player. But I doubt the game plan was ever to play him for 90 minutes. Same with Bentancur. I got the impression that was a plan when I think it was 69 minutes or whatever that Bentancur, you may have the times, Adrian, you prepared tonight's show. Came up when Paulinho came up.
I've got all that to come up.
Yeah, I got the feeling that substitution was probably decided on Friday or Thursday.
Martin, the substitutes bench. Do you think it's strong, average? Do you think it's a good subs bench now? We've got a few players coming back, but the question whether you rate them or not. Why am there?
It's a little bit better, but it's definitely still off it. I mean, if we consider the fact that we've got players like Mohamed Kudus and Dan Kulusevski who are not even on the bench. But overall, into the relegation battle, if we compare what bench we had 2-3 months ago, it's absolutely, we would have snatched anyone's hand off 2-3 months ago for a bench like this. So it's getting better, and James Maddison will gain fitness and he will become more available. That will be fantastic as well going forward. So I think it's good because in every position you've got an option available, whether that's someone suddenly gets injured, or also you've got some impact off the bench like Richarlison, like a Matisse Tell. I'm not really counting James Maddison in there because, of course, he's after an ACL injury that you can't really treat him as someone as comparable as a Matisse Tell who has played all season. But you've got players in every single position who are able to come on, which is fantastic because that's something we haven't had. And if you look at the academy players, well, there's none there. And that's the only issue that maybe I've got, that I say we've got so much talent in our academy and they just don't seem to be making the bench. That if you look at other teams like, City played against Arsenal today, and I thought Nico O'Reilly was phenomenal. And of course, it depends on the talent that's coming through your academy, but I don't believe that we do not have someone like a Nico O'Reilly sitting in the Spurs academy that are ready to influence, that are ready to fight for the badge. Because, you look at this bench and everyone's played a role this season, and some of them haven't played with as much heart and desire as we would have maybe hoped for. And I guarantee you that certain academy players would. So it's a question of why are we not looking more into the academies as well? But I believe that Roberto De Zerbi is very good at working with young talent and improving young talent. So I'm very, very happy with the appointment of our new manager. And hopefully we can be speaking about a completely different squad, a completely different bench next season if we are to stay in the Premier League.
Phil, the issue I have with the academy players is I've watched a lot of them. I know you may have. I know Gary Ward has. I know Callum does. They go regularly and watch the games at Stevenage, right? But, I mean, we can talk about Williams Barnett. We can talk about Mason Melia. We can talk about Wilson, James Wilson, But the players that were in the old Concrete side, they're all out on loan for a year. Mikey Moore, Vuskovic, Lancashire, Donnelly, Tyrus Hall. I mean, there's more. I mean, they're all out on loan, and we could have pulled some back in January because I think they didn't make the mistake of the previous season when all our injury problems seemed to be at the back line. and when we could have. But Ashley Phillips is smashing it at Stoke, you know. So with them, I think, well, we won't. The future for some, I mean, they're all going to have great futures. They'll all end up millionaires. They wouldn't be in our academy if they weren't good, right? The question of like is, reading between the lines, I usually judge it. I think, who will De Zerbi take on a pre-season tour? And then you can sort of start assessing them. But having said that, Sarr smashed it pre-season and Frank stopped playing him. So like, but he wasn't really academy player. So I think De Zerbi's got more of an eye. And as he was an ex-number 10, he was, I think he's got, he knows football. He's a footballer as well. It's not like Frank was a footballer at any high level, So I think that does make a big difference. Players respect a player that's done it, been there and done it, But what's your take on the academy and the players there like?
We've got some really good, youngsters coming through. We always have up to a certain extent, but we seem to have a particularly good batch at the moment. Also in terms of some very specific individual talents who probably have got the tools and the attitude and the skill to become Premier League level players, I would say. Certainly, Luca Williams-Barnett, the lad's got incredible skill. He's probably needs to, bulk up a bit possibly as well, if he's going to be playing, at the higher level, let's say. He also hasn't been out on loan anywhere per se. The likes of Tynan Thompson as well. He scored a hat-trick, didn't he, recently? I know he was injured for a while. There is some players, though, what I really would have liked to have seen at least, come onto the bench, come into the match day squad, at least a bit more and, maybe just get some minutes off the bench. A lot of people will say, well, why throw them into stressful situations or, must-win games? Well, why not? I mean, they're not affected by, some of the mental challenges probably, right, that the other players have been affected with because of where we've been in the last 2 years. So they've have that literally have that innocence, the innocence of youth in terms of, they've never been in those situations. So I think sometimes, it can be a benefit. And what's the problem with giving them 10, 15, 20 minutes, here and there, especially if you haven't got any wingers? Someone like Tynan Thompson, as an example, if he's fit and if he's, hitting all of his kind of metrics, right, in training, and because they compare it all, don't they? They can see, probably where the player is potentially compared to his counterparts. If we don't have any other wingers, right, apart from Tell at the moment, why can't he be on the bench and potentially give him 15 minutes in one of these games? It's not going to be the difference between us. Bringing him on isn't going to mean we lose the game. You know what I mean? Like, who else have we got there who's going to make a difference? So I do think sometimes looking at the players we have, it would be nice if they did get more of a chance. Players like Mikey Moore, obviously he's been, touted as don't want to call him a world beater, but, he's been touted as a potential, future Spurs star and certainly Premier League level quality player. And to be fair, he did play quite a bit under Ange, didn't he? From January onwards in that one season, he scored in Europe. I was quite excited, when he came in. Then he obviously had that really bad luck with, I don't know if it was it did he have he had a heart muscle infection, didn't he, from a cold? Can't remember so he was out for 3 months, and I think that put him back a lot. And to be fair, we could probably have the discussion, should we have recalled some of these players, bearing in mind they are smashing it in the Championship or, abroad. And Mikey Moore's obviously been having a really, really good loan up at Rangers. But I honestly would think that they would not want to ruin that for Mikey because he's got the opportunity to be part of a title-winning team up there, from the beginning almost. And he's actually getting game time. He's scoring goals. Do you want to bring someone like Mikey Moore back into a squad which is, in more of a negative position? Is he going to get game time even if we recall him? Do we need an Ashley Phillips to come back in? Bearing in mind we do have Kevin Danzo and we do have Radu Dragusin. Are you really going to play an Ashley Phillips above Dragusin, regardless of what, we've talked about him, right? Like, I don't know, unless if those players are absolute standout players, like potentially Vuskovic is, You know, Vuskovic is the kind of player that if we had him now, or if we decided to, or if we had recalled him, he's probably good enough to come in and make like literally an impact in the next game just because of his attributes. But some of the others, I don't know if it would really benefit them that much. And you know, like when you look at some of these other players, like Liverpool, the lad
Curtis Jones.
Is it Rio, the 16-year-old winger? You know, who's played quite a lot recently. I can't remember his surname now. But you know, he's been touted as like an England future international. Obviously, the lad from the Woolwich Wanderers, Max Dowman. You know, he's 15, right? And obviously, he's already played first team games and he's scored. Obviously, he's a great talent. What would interest me is like how would you compare our top talents, you know, to some of those other talents who are 15, 16, 17, because they haven't had loans anywhere. They haven't played first team football. The only difference is that they're playing for teams that have a settled squad dynamic and a settled tactics and a settled manager. And I think if you're coming into a team which is settled and successful, it's obviously a million times easier than getting a debut or trying to get minutes in a team like Tottenham's, which is obviously being completely dysfunctional. Do you know what I mean? Like under Thomas Frank, Igor Tudor, even Ange up to a certain extent in certain periods, you'd be like, well, are you getting a benefit out of coming into that team? Is it easy for you to integrate? Because tell you what, that team doesn't work in terms of the passing, do you know what I mean? Like if you, I think.
Yeah, I don't think you should compare our youngsters with youngsters at other clubs. It's just the wrong thing to do. It's just the situations. There's nothing to compare with. I mean, Ian, do you think like I do that the stock of a lot of these young players has risen because of the situation we find ourselves in, and they are not ready? I mean, like we had Scarlett scored and Ajayi scored against Delsbrook. So did Mikey Moore, but Mikey Moore didn't have the most auspicious start at Rangers, did he?
No, but by Christmas it was obvious he had something, and we were struggling in the creative side of the game. Mikey Moore plays off the wing, but he also plays in a sort of
left,
free-roll 10-come left winger. I've said this before. I know we disagree on it. I would have brought Vuskovic back and I'd have brought Moore back. I think both could have done a job. I think if you're good enough, you're old enough. There were areas that we were struggling in. Romero's injuries, Van der Ven. I think I don't want to talk too much about Big Kev because I love him, and I think I thought he had an immaculate game apart from that one lapse. Dragusin, not for me. I would have brought Vuskovic back. He also scores goals, and we've been lacking in goals.
Would you have had, just to interrupt you a second, would you have had more confidence if Vuskovic and Mikey Moore had come back under De Zerbi rather than come back under Frank?
Oh well, that's fair comment, but let's not go there because I would never have appointed Frank, and I'd have got rid of him certainly. But when we lost to West Ham, that was the time to have made the change. And I'm trying to remember what was that still in January. I'm trying to remember when we lost to West Ham.
I'm sure someone in chat. I think it was probably in December, wasn't it? I'm not sure.
I'd have to double check the game.
Yeah,
it's not that game at the last minute.
Yeah.
In fact, if you think of the points that I'm just thinking at home, a point gone against West Ham, but more importantly, 2 extra points for them. 2 points to Manchester United when the Leafs goal in stoppage time, and then yesterday. That's what is that? That's 5 points. 5 points. Those 5 points, those stoppage time goals at home. We're looking over our shoulders, but we're looking back over our shoulders, not up at the opposition. We're staying up if we don't lose those goals. No, I would have brought Vuskovic back and I'd have brought Moore back, but I've been consistent in that.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with you in. Give us your take on the first half only. What was your take on the first half of yesterday's game?
Mine. As I said to you, I think this no longer is about individual brilliance. It's no longer about great. Look, it'd be wonderful if we could be putting pass after pass after pass together, end-to-end moves, winning 5-0. This is about attitude. This is all about attitude. This is about wanting it enough, and caring enough. And I thought we saw that in spades. I thought the football we played wasn't bad. But the one thing I was most important was, Mr. Knight has come up 17th of January on my daughter's birthday, 17th of January 2026. So, so there was still time to have made changes, recalled players, changed the manager then. That's, to me, that was when the writing was on the wall. They should have made the changes. Who they'd have got, I don't even give a toss. I seriously don't give a toss. I always thought Frank was the wrong man. You know that, Adrian. It's not as if I'm wise after the event. I wasn't happy with his appointment in the summer, and it started off well with a game against Burnley and went downhill after that. So, thanks for that, Brian. All I want is attitude. If we're not skillful enough or whatever to stay up, so be it. We've not been good enough all season. This is about 100% attitude, and I thought the players showed the determination in spades. Porro getting in there. Porro was at fault, I thought, for the equalising goal, but will come the first equalising goal. But the fact is, Porro put his head in there. He's got no idea whether the goalkeeper's going to take him out or not, and he doesn't flinch. And that, I thought, was really encouraging. Yeah, look, we're not the greatest team in the world. We lack in certain areas, but I was really happy with the attitude. I was really happy with the performance. And of course, if Xavi puts that second one in 2 or 3 minutes later, I suspect we go on and win the game, and maybe go on and win the game with a bit to spare. But small margins in life, small margins in football.
Martin, yeah, I mean, the first half, I mean, we did start bright. My concern, though, is that we still don't seem to be able to dominate at the beginning of the game.
Right. My take on the first half was I was pleasantly surprised that we actually tried to press quite high, although we weren't really getting much success. Also, what needs to be mentioned is Brighton on form are joint top with Arsenal. The fact that Arsenal lost today, I think they are actually first in the Premier League table based on form. So we're not playing against no team that is low on confidence. We're playing against a team that love to play with the ball, and I thought that we were doing decent. Like Ian said, I think that we saw a lot of confidence and desire in spades of the game. And I genuinely believed we were going to win that game before the whistle was kicked. I predicted 2-1, and it looked like it was going our way, because if you guys remember in the first half, the incident with Mickey van der Ven hitting the post, then hitting his body, bouncing on the line, and it didn't go in. So I thought finally we had some luck on our side, because on a different day, that's an own goal. It hits the post from Mickey van der Ven, and then it hits Anthony Kinski in the head, and it goes in, and Brighton, we're up 1-0. But I thought that we had a little bit of luck on our side, which we haven't had in a long time. Then, of course, we get the goal, which was a fantastic cross by Xavi Simons, and Pedro Porro getting in, and like Ian said, was quite a surprise that he was in that number 9 position as a right back. Beat Verbruggen to it, and the issue that has persisted for weeks and weeks now is we cannot hold on to a lead, or to just even a goalless draw until the half-time whistle goes. We've seen it against Nottingham Forest. We've seen it against Crystal Palace. And, I could go on and on. I think we saw it against Arsenal as well. So it's been a situation that's been repeating all season. And it's a mentality issue, I would say, because, again, we conceded just before half-time that Brighton managed to equalise. And I do agree. I think Pedro Porro was at fault. But, again, Xavi Simons should have done much better closing down the cross in the first place, because there was so much time and space for Pascal Gross to put the ball into the box. Now, what I will say overall in that first half is it was something much better. It was much better than the Sunderland first and second half. So it was something we could get behind. And I think we needed the half-time whistle to go as soon as possible, because it looked like our team were about to fold and concede a second before the half-time whistle went. So 1-0 at half time, and there were a lot of positives to get behind. And yeah, I was quite surprised that we took a quite front-footed approach, and it's something that we as fans can get behind, because I think it is the DNA of Tottenham Hotspur, trying to play on the front foot, trying to attack teams, and not just be passengers and passive like we saw under Thomas Frank and the majority under Igor Tudor as well. So I was happy with the first half, apart from the final 5 minutes.
Phil, I mean, to me, a lot of running from Solanke. Moani, to me, even in the first half, didn't see a great deal from him, to be honest with you. And it was better, but the cracks were like, we don't seem to be able to dominate, and we let teams come back. If we seem to be brightly, we didn't sort of take our foot off the gas as we've much done in other games. So De Zerbi's definitely worked on that, right? And I think that's why he's thrown the experienced players in there. I think he's gone for experience. I mean, like, but overall, like, first half for you?
First half for me, I mean, overall, I thought it was a really good performance. First half, I mean, I was happy because I saw energy, I saw desire, I saw fight. As we've said, Gallagher was all over the place. It was his best performance for us in a Spurs shirt, Conor Gallagher, generally in that game. But like first half, we actually, we played some good moves. We should have gone 2-0 up. I think if we go 2-0 up, then we win the game. I know there was still a whole half to play, but I think if we go 2-0 up, we win the game. I think at that point we could have even scored another one because we were the better team. Binsky didn't have a save to make. I know there was the hairy situation with Mickey kind of like shinning it or like onto the post, and it's somehow not going in. Yeah, look, we deserve a bit of luck like that. But, Brighton didn't really create too much else, right? Apart from the Matoma wonder goal, let's say. So I thought it was a really good performance. I mean, what impressed me generally was the increased structure in the team. So I thought that the midfield just looked more solid. There was less gaps in the midfield. Recently teams have just passed straight through us. I don't think they could do that. Like we just looked better on the eye in terms of, when you look at the players on the pitch and you look at when the other team's got the ball, we look more solid. The defense is still shaky, but I thought we did all right there. It looked a bit better. And as you said, though, Adrian, Solanke, a lot of running. The problem with Solanke is he has moments of quality in games, right? 5 minutes here and there, or individual actions where you're like, wow, he is absolute top quality, like Premier League quality. But then he kind of just has other moments where he's just quite quiet or things don't work out. He's not present enough. But he was physical in that game. I think there was one moment in the first half where he went for a challenge with Van Hecke, and Van Hecke kind of fell over and was claiming a foul, but there was no way it was a foul. It was really good centre forward play by Solanke. And that's also what we've been missing a bit from him and potentially whoever else has played up front for us. So I was impressed. I can definitely see, second half, okay, we obviously went off the ball a bit in a certain period of the half. But I think, you can see that De Zerbi is impacting his mentality and his style of play on the team already after only 2 weeks. You can see that. You can see that the team has a bit more structure, has a bit more about it. Yeah, we're not going to suddenly create 25 chances, or create an XG of 4, but there was a lot of positives there. And again, as I say, we should have gone 2-0 up in that game. And if we go 2-0 up, we don't know, but I believe we would have won that. I think we would have scored possibly 3 or 4 in that game if we go 2-0 up. I think the game's over for Brighton almost at that point. So only positives for me, really. The only thing, just to quickly mention, I don't want to get on Porro's back too much because he scored. And I still don't believe that Porro is really like a proper bona fide right back.
He put one square ball across midfield, which they pounced on early in the game. Like, he did redeem himself on the right-hand side, but I thought, my God, why do you do this? Why do you have this in your game? If you could eliminate sloppiness, it'd be, because look, he got in the right position to score the goal. And Ian, this is, are we a bit too critical of our strikers? They haven't exactly had the greatest of service in games, have they?
You've faded on me really badly, Adrian.
Right. That's okay. I said our strikers, and we've had better strikers, and they're not strikers that can make things happen out of nothing like Son and Kane can.
No.
Right? But they haven't had the service, have they? We've had no wingers. We've got no winger in that team at the moment, really, officially.
No. And that was the point. And that, again, maybe goes back to the Sunderland game. The only, with Maddison not yet fit, and obviously Maddison couldn't come on because of the use of the substitutes, whether that was right or wrong. I thought he must have planned to try and give Maddison 15 minutes yesterday. But you in a situation that we're in, you are going to have to rely on midfield players breaking through the lines and what have you. Solanke is a workman. He's a workhorse, but he'll never be better than a good workhorse. I thought, I think the point Phil was making, his work rate yesterday was fabulous. Referee, who I thought again was exceptionally poor, bought a couple of free kicks. He was clearly bullying the centre half, and he can't remember his name, but bullying the centre half within the laws of the game. And Solanke goes up, he goes down holding his head, and he blows, and the referee blows the whistle. I can't remember his name. There's a referee in the Championship, who's an ex-player. It was when he gets, I'll remember his name, and I'll remind you all I said this. I saw a game he refereed between Southampton and Coventry, and players are falling down. He's just saying, "Get up, get up, get up." And some of the referees, I think they're almost too scared. Someone gets a touch, or they see someone go down holding something, they think it's a foul. They've got no judgment of their own. And Solanke is just using his strength and doing it within the laws of the game. And the referee doesn't have the wherewithal or the knowledge or the understanding to think that just because a player goes down holding something doesn't mean the laws of the game have been infringed. Right.
Well, before we carry on, guys, there's 120 of you watching us on various platforms. This is usually Ian's show, usually gets the same numbers, which is fantastic. And but if you could, take the time, it only takes a second. We can't hear that little red subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. If you could subscribe to the channel and give the videos a thumbs up, it really helps the channel and the algorithm. We bring all this to you. A lot of thought goes into these shows. A lot of thought goes into the questions. We try to make it fact-based and as interesting as possible for you. Yeah. So if you could do that. If you want a membership, we do cheap memberships. If you want one, there are super chats. If you want to give us a super chat, that's fine. Just say a big up to all of you on various platforms now. Big up to those in the chat for their questions and everything else like that. And a big up to everyone who watches on playback. I'm going to stay with Ian. Second half, Ian. Ian, second half. What was your take on the second half?
Wasn't dissimilar. We probably allowed them, I thought, to come into the game too much. But part of the problem was, I think, Bentancur and Bissouma. Your midfield's always crucial. There's not a game where midfield's not crucial. You've got two key players in your midfield there who are tiring. We conceded a lot of ball. They had a couple of good chances, but the bottom line for me with the second half was, again, we got the goal, which we haven't been doing. Again, we got the goal, and a wonder strike it was. Just when you start to think time's running out, they were good subs. I thought his subs were good yesterday. De Zerbi's. I thought, particularly bringing on Bergvall and Gray, fresh legs. They didn't really work well together on at Sunderland last week, but they worked well. I thought yesterday. Gray, don't want to start repeating myself. I know we
know Brighton are a more together side. They're in good form and all that. So obviously, there's no threat of them being relegated. They've got a good chance of getting into Europe. I think they're lying 9th or something, point beyond the 8th place team. So we know they're a more together side and they can play with a bit more freedom than we can.
Yeah.
But they came out and they dominated the ball in the early stages of the second half. And that's happened to us too many times, in my opinion.
I wish you take your hand away.
They dominated the ball, right, early in the first. And I was beginning to think, here we go again. You know what's going to happen.
But our defensive shape and our defensive discipline was good. Too many times, I think, Adrian, we've conceded goals where we've conceded possession, okay, but we've conceded goals because we haven't been able to keep a shape, haven't been able to keep concentration in the right areas. And that wasn't the case yesterday. Apart from that one lapse in the 95th minute. And I thought Kinski looked quite safe, by the way. That I think is important after the Atleti debacle. And I don't know if Vicari will be fit next week, but I wouldn't be dropping Kinski. I think Kinski gives us something.
He shouldn't come back in, honestly. Like anyone who believes that Vicario coming in after injury is going to be stronger than what Kinski's done. Honestly, I believe they got to check themselves out. Like Kinski's solid. Like
De Zerbi's got the excuse. He can always come and say, "Well, I want you just to rest a bit more," So he could the next game, the Wolves game, he could after that you might see him again. Yeah. Martin, do you think this? I mean, I actually thought. I don't want to be critical. I'm a very positive Spurs fan. I mean, I actually thought. I thought they were the better team overall, Brighton, but they were possession-wise, but and we did dig in, like Ian alluded to, because when we actually scored against the run of play, in my opinion, they had a lot of the ball.
Yeah, it was literally, I think, what Bergwell's first touch of the game, because it was a goal kick for Brighton, and I think I agree with both of you. I think that we were. It was against the run of play because Brighton had more control over the game, but it was fantastic pressing by Bergwell, who passes it into the channel to Xavi Simons. A fantastic decision. And I'm there thinking, why is Xavi Simons stopping the run? Why is he not going, straight at Verbruggen? And in the end, he produced a magical moment, something we've been missing. We've been missing magical moments because we don't have magical players. Now, Xavi Simons played a fantastic game, but how many fantastic games has he had since he's come in? He has struggled to adapt. And we are missing this because we were so accustomed to having a Heung-min Son and a Harry Kane for almost a decade. And suddenly we haven't replaced them adequately. I mean, we replaced Harry Kane with Dominic Solanke 1 year after Harry Kane had left. And now Son Heung-min's left in the summer. We've brought in Xavi Simons and, finally he delivered this magical moment. But it's been maybe 2-3 games that he's delivered over the whole season. And I say we deserved a bit of luck on our side. And I actually thought we were going to hold on for the final 15 minutes. But something I didn't realise was Roberto De Zerbi had actually used all his 5 substitutes, which we also obviously saw with Xavi Simons struggling with his calf. And that was quite frustrating because I think that potentially if you substitute Xavi Simons for potentially Radu Dragusin and you go 5 at the back and you proper, make sure there are no gaps there, we could have maybe won it. But then this is also the reason that we can just go back to, and that is the board, because Destiny Udogie is clearly not match fit completely. And we were linked with Andy Robertson, who we didn't sign. And I think that right now in this stage of the season, I think Andy Robertson would have maybe been starting ahead of Destiny Udogie. But again, okay, we can look at Roberto De Zerbi and using all 5 substitutes in the 77th minute. And that does leave you hanging with a potential injury or a health complication that we saw with Xavi Simons. But overall, that second half was not as positive as the first half, which is understandable because fitness issues, like we mentioned, Bentancur, Bissouma just coming back in. Destiny Udogie's only played if we don't take Brighton, that is in combination, that is 95 minutes out of a possible 1,050, right? So we're speaking of a lack of minutes, and they're obviously not going to last the full 90, and we're playing against a Brighton team who are proper gelled together, who are going and getting result after result. So Actually, if we take this result in isolation and we forget about the league table, with the Brighton team that we played, I think it's very positive it's very positive, and it was day and night of what we've been seeing and what we've been served up, especially with our poor home form, that we were so close to our third win of the Premier League season. And it is scary that we're speaking in April, third Premier League win of this season. So overall, we have drastically improved after Roberto De Zerbi, and if we now stop time, we can feel much more positive in our survival chances than we were feeling 1 month ago.
Phil, it was an inspired Bergvall substitution. I said to the mate sitting next to me, I went like, none of our players would have closed that down. They wouldn't have had the legs to close that down for that goal at that stage of the game. They wouldn't have. You sort of like, you're sort of conserving your energy and time in your runs at that stage of the game. Anywhere near the hour mark, you're puffed.
Yeah, I mean, it was the right substitution. Bergvall, always brings energy. He closes down. He presses really well. Look, and it was the right sub at that time, and he did really well. It was basically created that chance, and look, I'm still really excited about Bergvall because he's a massive talent. Sometimes people forget that when we signed him and beat the likes of Barcelona, Inter Milan, and I think even PSG were interested in him, to be honest. That's one thing I think that Johan Lange actually one of the very few little things that he actually managed to do very well. But that would also suit because Johan has always been a good youth, talent spotter. He's just not been a very good senior sporting director. But look, I mean, people forget that when we signed him, he was one of the probably the top 5, literally the top 5 young talents in Europe. And we managed to get him, and he proved it, didn't he, under Ange in that one season last season as well. And he's had a bit of bad luck this season as well with the injuries. I'm excited. Whatever happens with Tottenham, whether we stay up or whether we stay down, we understand that De Zerbi's here for a long project. We'll take him at his word for now, right? And I'm excited to see how he builds him in. I don't believe that if we go down that it's automatic that we sell him. There's some fans saying that he's definitely going to get sold if we go down. I don't see why. He's still got a long contract. He's the kind of player that I think would relish playing in the Championship as well, get more experience, and he fits that style as well. I think he's happy at the club as well. His family's settled in London. He's on a pretty good wage as well, to be honest. So there's no reason for us to sell him. I'm excited to see how De Zerbi can really find his best role in the team, because I think that Bergvall, the challenge that he's had is it's been difficult for different managers to profile him exactly. Where does he fit best in the team? Is he a number 8? Is he a number 6? Can he play as a number 10? I would say he's a number 8 personally, but like what kind of number 8 even? It gets a bit more complicated than that. But he fits De Zerbi ball really, really well, as long as the rest of the midfield is balanced. I think he can still be a revelation for us. He can be good for us in the next 5 games. I want to see him get at least 45 minutes, I would say, in the remaining games, right, in each of them, like a half, because he's obviously fit and he's got the energy. So let's give him the chance. But De Zerbi did it. The substitution was an inspired sub because it worked.
Okay. Yeah. So for the 130 of you watching us on various platforms, big up to you. Me and Ian greatly appreciate your supporting this channel. We've only been going nearly a couple of years, and we're doing fine. But your support is most appreciated. What I normally do in my shows at this juncture, I normally go through a synopsis of a game for those that haven't watched the game or abroad that haven't watched the game, and stop at points which I think are important for the guys to comment on. Ian has a different style to me, which gives the show variation. So anyway, I'm going to go through a bit of a synopsis and come to Ian first, right? So,
I'm abroad. Adrian, I want to come in here.
Go on.
Yeah, my show's doing. It's good that all presenters have a different style of presentation. I would have hosted tonight, but I'm in Italy, so I wasn't sure if I'd get on. I couldn't say I'm going to
That's
host
fair
the
enough,
show
that's
if
fair
I didn't know I would be on. But I want to pick up a couple of things that are said in the chat. Darwin the goat, those comments have come up. Thanks for your compliments, Darwin. Really appreciate that. There is, I think we need to be absolutely clear about this. There is no upside to going down.
No,
No upside at all.
we've been there, Ian.
For all kind of reasons. Yeah. Not least of which the massive drop in income. I don't know what age you are, Mr. Darwin, but Adrian and I are in our mid-60s and beyond, and remember 1977 well, and the struggles with watching 20,000 people in the stadium for the previous couple of years. The most clubs got their income from gate money, and when we went down, the gates doubled, practically doubled. So the club probably didn't lose revenue. It was able to keep players, and it was able to develop players like Hoddle, like McNabb, and one or two others that came into the team around that period. Stevie Perryman stayed as if he would go anywhere, where players didn't have the right to just demand to be released anyway. And I don't remember that many players leaving. Now you've got the Romeros, the Van de Vens. I think Romero goes regardless, but the Van de Vens maybe, and several other players. People talk even about Bergvall. There is no upside to going down, and the loss of income will be dramatic. I think this will be a summer where everybody takes stock. Particularly, the supporters are going to have to determine: are they going to back ENIC, and are ENIC going to genuinely back the club with several £100 million in transfer money? Are we going to get the director of football? I've heard Dougie Friedman's name mentioned. I think he's probably the best one out there.
And Kel of Dortmund, the ex-Dortmund guy, which Phil's not too keen on.
I think these are top talents. You know, I personally, I think Langer, I'm probably in a minority of one here, that Langer could do a job as the scouting director for academy and beyond players. Players under the age of 21. There's someone ultimately. We hate this expression.
The thing is, Ian, I mean, as you alluded to, I mean, like our fan base. I mean, people when we went back into the 70s. I mean, we had the best away support in London. None of this 3,000 going away. Spurs, you went away games, Ian. I went away games. We'd take 6,000, 8,000, 10,000. Best away support. And Spurs fans are stoics. All we've had to put up over the decades, but they will turn up. And it's not whether they'll back ENIC. They'll still back the team. They will back the team. I'm telling you now, if Spurs went down in that second division, that stadium will still be full because people want to see football. They want to see a game of football. I mean, so our fans will turn up. I mean, I actually thought the fans at the stadium yesterday were fantastic. They were brilliant, right? And the fans that go away, they're brilliant as well. I mean, we get comments. Some Man City fans were saying to me, your fans are second class because they struggle to fill their ground for European games. You know what I mean? And look at the team they've got, right? We're playing crap football and we still fill the stadium and take fans away, and even in Europe, so that's not the issue. All right, sorry to interrupt you, and if you was going to carry on, I was going to move on.
I think I think this idea that look, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we go down, we restock, we win the championship by 12 points, 15 points, come back a much stronger and fitter, better club. But the other side of that is we go down, lots of good players leave, and we end up with suddenly, this time next season we're in 6th, 7th place in the championship.
As you alluded to, I mean, we go down on last year's accounts, the money we made in Europe, plus the parachute payments, And also for the 140 of you that are now watching us on various platforms, I mean, next season in the Championship, there's no VAR to start off with. That'll please a lot of fans. And the playoffs go down to, believe it or not, 8th place. They're really trying to make money in that Championship. So I think we'd come straight back up, even if we got rid of players personally, if it happens. We don't want it to happen. I've been there.
I'm not taking that chance, Adrian.
No. That's why mine and yours immune system is strong as hell, because we've been relegated and followed the team in the second division. You know, I just want to give a shout out to Si, who's like taking this badly. I know there are fans out there take it very badly now and sort of suffering, having to step away from football on their chat channel. If you're listening to us, Si, big up, mate. You know, we welcome you back as soon as you feel it. You know, don't forget to come back. We've all got you. We've got the backs of people like you out there, like that are suffering. I mean, I know some people get more angry than others and more frustrated, and it affects them. You know, I get it. We're in the decades of this. I think we're a bit more, we're a bit more resolute. That's all it is. But that's through hardship, basically. So, yeah. Right, I'm going to go out of the game, and I'm going to come to you, Phil, because you mentioned this guy. Then I'm going to come back to him before I go. What's that? So, 21 minutes, left wing corner. Simmons close for advantage, trickle past the post. We talked about that. This is what the crowd wanted to see, Phil, from this man. 26 minutes, he came for that corner. Unlike Vicario, commanded the area and just whammed it out. That's not coming in there, So, your take on his performance?
He took control straight away. There was a couple of really tricky corners that went under his bar, in swingers, which are tough at the best of times. And he dealt with all of them really well. He took charge. I can't remember if it was last week against Sunderland, possibly as well. There was a couple like that where I had the feeling that if it had been Vicario, honestly, who knows what would have happened? Either we would have punched like a player, or we would have missed the ball. We've talked about Vicario as well so much. There's no doubt that he's a good shot stopper, as long as they're not long range shots. But let's say, average shots from within the box or from around, on the edge of the box or something, like he's a great impulsive, instinctive shot stopper, but he's awful at commanding his area, at marshalling the defense on free kicks and all that kind of stuff. Kinski has got that, and Kinski's got the distribution as well with his feet. And he hasn't had a great chance to show it so far in terms of distribution, but he was solid. Didn't make a single mistake. He was calm under pressure. He didn't face 20 shots at goal in both games, so that's he'd have to show himself in a game like that as well. But he exuded confidence, and again, like yesterday, he played it with Danzo and Mickey van der Ven, right? So a slightly different centre back pairing in front of him. And he dealt with everything like with aplomb. And I don't want to wax too much lyrical about him, but I believe as soon as Kinski signed, right, I was banging the drum for him, because I've got a very good friend of mine who lives in Prague in the Czech Republic, and his son actually plays for the same Prague team. I can't remember if it's Slavia or if it's
Slavia.
Yeah, Slavia, exactly. And look, this guy Kinski is rated as, I didn't put him up in Peter Cech category because I don't think anyone can, and you don't want to do that, right? But this guy is rated as being the next big thing, in that kind of area, and just like with Bergvall,
his dad played in goal for those of you watching. His dad played in goal for Czechoslovakia. His dad was a goalkeeper.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right, Adrian. He did. He was an international. So he's got that pedigree as well, and he understands what it's like to be a footballer, let's say, probably growing up in that kind of environment. But same as Bergvall, he was one of the top 5 keepers in Europe. The fact that he played so many first team games at his age, he can be a great keeper, and he needs a run of games. He needs a manager that believes in him. Look, whether we go in the summer and get another number 1 keeper to replace Vicario, fine, that's all cool. But they need to have a plan for Kinski. But he's good enough to play for us. He's good enough to be our number 1. So I hope that he gets the chance to do it.
Right, Ian, you've had a lot to say about this man before. Bentancur, your take on his game yesterday?
Yeah, I thought it was all right. Effort blocked by bet. Yeah, I'm not going to remember all those minute
No.
things you put
That's
in.
what I'm here for.
I thought Bentancur did okay.
Mm.
I have a theory that when Bentancur plays well, Spurs played well. I thought Bentancur was all right. I don't think he was exceptional. He didn't dominate, but considering he hasn't played in months, I thought he played fairly well. I think the fact that he came into the side and there was an improvement in performance isn't a coincidence. I think he offers a bit more generally than say Polinia does, accommodating him alongside Gallagher and Xavi.
Martin, so 32 minutes, the Minter right wing cross, VDV clears, hits the post, trickles along the goal line. We've all got our hands up in our mouths, thinking, why didn't this go in? 2 minutes later, though, I'm not a Basuma fan, I've got to be honest.
I think, Adrian, before you move on from that, whether you saw it at the game or not, the assistant flagged for an offside that was non-existent. So when Van der Ven hit the ball, how that didn't go over the line is a minor miracle. But the assistant put his flag up. The goal would have been disallowed. VAR would have overturned it. It would have stood.
Martin, 34 minutes. Basuma trips Ayari from behind. Yellow card. And as soon as he gets it, I want him off the pitch. I just want him gone because I just think he's a liability for yellow cards. He got 3 suspensions under Ange, and then went away on the African Nations Cup. And then he got, and then when he got that sent off for that simulated dive at Luton, when Mickey Van der Ven saved our bacon by scoring a goal, and then Kulusevski kept the ball all the second half to get us across the line with a 1-0 win. He's just not trustworthy, in my opinion. Got talent. He's talented. You've all mentioned he's got the talent. He can break the press, but this just it's so unnecessary. This one, leave him, let him go.
Yeah, true. I mean, it was very unnecessary, and I understand your criticism of Yves Bissouma, but to be fair, we also have to remember he actually started in the final and in the semi-final of the Europa League as well, and I thought that he actually was fairly trustworthy, and for the long term, I don't think Yves Bissouma is a player that we should be counting with by any stretch of the imagination. But he has these certain spells where you can trust him, and I think that potentially for the final 5 games, he might be a key asset for Roberto De Zerbi's team. And that yellow card was very silly, but just one more reference to the Van der Ven clearance. I think we've missed this sort of luck all season. We really have, and it really felt like a Manchester United Europa League final moment where Van der Ven cleared it off the line. Because
Martin, if it weren't for bad luck, we'd have no luck at all.
Yeah, true. Exactly. But the thing is, you watch other teams play like City today. I thought they were really lucky on 3-4 occasions that Arsenal didn't manage to score. And you watch us week in, week out, and we can't even get a penalty this season. We can't even get a lucky goal with a deflection. I mean, when was the last time we scored a goal that was deflected? If you guys remember the second half where Palhinha shot and it was deflected, where Verbruggen was forced to make a save, how many teams get that sort of situation and score? I mean, we saw it. Okiele last week for Sunderland scored exactly like that, and it just feels like everything goes against us. So I was so happy with something going our way. And back to Bissouma and his yellow card, I think it really influenced his performance afterwards. But to be fair, I think that we can see Bissouma and Bentancur going forward. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, we only voice opinions. We don't pick the team or devise the tactics. Phil, this was a good save by Kinski. It gives him more kudos. The glancing header from Welbeck. Not the one straight at him, which was earlier, late in the second half, maybe, or the first half. But that was a good save. And then Xavi on the left. How many times have we seen Xavi on the left try and clip the ball to the far post? This time it was nearer. But preps to Porro for being where he was. I mean, that's a striker's instinct from Porro, isn't it? You know what I mean? To get there.
Preps to Porro for being where he is, but also for continuing his run and going in for the ball and for the header and the challenge with commitment, right? because Porro is not the tallest, is he?
No.
He's one of our smaller players probably as well, right? But he beat Verbruggen clearly to the ball, didn't he? Like the keeper didn't really look that great, but I think that's more down to the quality of the ball from Xavi, to be honest. You know, the keeper didn't really have much that he could do with that. He had to come out and just hope that he connects with it. And Porro, fair play to him, as I said, for like continuing with his run, but for going in with commitment, right, and not shirking out of anything. You know, he went in there to win the ball, and he got it perfectly. You know, and you know, when that goal comes in, and again, like, let's just the quality of the ball was fantastic from Xavi. So when that goal comes in, of course, you're just like, wow, you know, could this be it? You know, is this the start of the Great Escape kind of thing? You know,
and then Ian, as you all alluded to, I mean, we nearly went 2-0 up. Simmons through, strikes the right hand post. Porro strikes a rebound like a bullet, right? And actually, I thought it went over, but actually, the Brooklyn got hand
Good save.
Saved it.
But because I'm right at the other end of the pitch, right? So with my eyes as well, I missed quite a few things during the game, right? So, yeah, I mean, and then this happened before, and we concede before half time and late in 90 minutes. I mean, Ian, the floating cross from Gross, it was Gross floated the crossover. But I mean, 9 times out, I mean, it was a great goal, so you can't take it away at a player. But 9 times in a player, it's that first time it goes anywhere but in the goal, like, you know what I mean? But it was a good goal. You can't take it away from him. But
it's, you can't. And it's funny enough, when Matoma was coming on in the bar yesterday and turned
you said it, go on.
to my partner and said, he's such a great player. And then 10 minutes later or whatever it was, he's hit that rifle
Your
shot.
fault.
Look, I come from a school, I love the beautiful game, but you look at most goals and they're in some way preventable. And Porro does this. He's mentally switches off, and if you look at his body position, it's all right, it's all wrong. He gets dragged into marking the centre forward, who Danso's got a perfectly good handle on. He's sucked forward. The ball goes over his head, and Mitoma has a chance to score. Not going to take anything away from what was a magnificent finish.
Yeah.
But Porro has switched off completely, and that's not the first time that's happened. The ball's gone over his head, and the left winger's drifted in behind him, and he's got no awareness until the ball's in the back of the net, and that's where Porro lets himself and lets us down.
Yeah. Go on.
Can I just say quickly on that though? Great finish, yeah. As you say, Ian, you know, Porro does let himself down there because he's ball watch, he's player watching, he's in he's wrong positionally. But I think we could have done a bit better to try and close the cross down as well. You know, I don't think I can put the full blame on Xavi, but Xavi could have come to Gross. And there was another Spurs player who just backed off, completely allowing Gross like all the time in the world to get that cross in. I don't think you can go too hard on it, but I think that's something that De Zerbi would look at, though.
Phil, you're right, because closing down's been an issue. We had the same thing with the Sunderland goal. We've seen it with other goals when we haven't closed down.
You know, like you just expect in those little moments, maybe that. Look, and we showed energy, didn't we? We showed desire and commitment in that game, but in that moment, we could have got closer to Gross, and who knows if he then has the same, you know, composure maybe to float that cross in just so well. But that's something that De Zerbi will look at, won't he, to be honest?
Right, let's move on. It's been a great show, guys. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Ian must be jealous, I reckon. You know. So 50 great for Basuma, Tel for Moani. I mean, all right, we get it. Basuma off booking, Tel for Moani. Moani did nothing as far as I'm concerned, right?
No.
And actually, when Tel come on, he didn't actually improve things much. But like 66 minutes, Danso blocks Batama, gets the yellow card. Inspired substitution, De Zerbi. You've got preps from all the six and Polina for Bentancur, this was the inspired one. Sorry, 76 minutes. Bergvall for Gallagher, Spence for your doggy. Yeah, your doggy's a bit gassed. I thought he was their best player at Sunderland. Him and Kinski, actually, I thought Kinski did all right at Sunderland. It's 2 games. Let's hope he goes on as a good third one if he's picked for Wolves away. 77 minutes.
Can we
2-1.
stop?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, I'm going to want to come in.
Go
I'm
on.
going to have to go in a few minutes anyway.
Okay,
But can you go back to the previous slide? 76 minutes. There were 8 added. So, 14 and 8 was 22 when I was at school. So you're making your final substitution with 20 odd minutes to go. Now, with the best will in the world, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but that is a massive risk you're taking. Massive.
Yeah. Well, do you mean because it's too late? But if they would, they must have an idea.
No. It's because once you've made all 5 substitutions.
Oh, you mean because Xavi got
so,
not?
for example, if Kinski gets sent off,
Yeah.
or for example, if Xavi Simons were to be injured and not be able to do anything for the last 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I just think making. I can't argue with any of the substitutions. Whether Spence for Udogie was one that was if you weigh up the cost benefit of making that substitution as opposed to not having another substitution to make later in the game. I'm not sure. I'm saying as a general principle, if I were coaching, I would never make my last substitution of 5 with 20 with 15 minutes plus stoppage time to go.
We have had that in the past when we've either liked or not liked a previous manager, and fans have complained, "Oh, why are you bringing on when 10 minutes to go?" You know what I mean? So I get it though, if you're saving the last one in case you get an injury. But he's bold deserve, to dare us to do. I'm liking it. So yeah. But we get your angle, right? So Bergvall steals the ball. Simons made this. See, he can make things happen on himself. I mean, we've critiqued him from being inconsistent at times. This kid's a talent, though, guys, isn't he? Martin, he's a talent, isn't he? I mean, it's a cracking goal as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Philip will know better than me with his, experience in watching a lot of Bundesliga matches with Simons developing in Leipzig. What I've seen of Xavi Simons has mainly been at Tottenham Hotspur. I didn't really pay too much attention when he was at Leipzig. Of course, I knew he was a big talent, but I think the performances where he has shone for Tottenham Hotspur have all been in the Champions League, apart from the only game in the Premier League where we saw a fantastic performance was against Brentford in December and now. So he's been very inconsistent. That also has to be said, which is maybe one of the reasons why it's the third manager that decided to leave him on the bench. But like you said, Adrian, he is able to make those special moments happen. And that's something that no other player in that front line is able of producing. Maybe James Maddison, but of course he's been out for the whole season. Maybe Dan Kulusevski, again, out for the whole season. So with Xavi Simons, I was so frustrated because Bergvall gives him a fantastic pass into his path and Xavi Simons is sprinting. And I'm thinking, why are you not going into the box? Shooting with your left foot or toe punting it, trying to find the back of the net, because he stops. He stops in his tracks, but actually it ends up going into the top corner. Fantastic finish off the post and into the back of the net. It's absolute carnage. And we all think that we're staying up. And that's just the magical moments that he can produce. Because like Philip said, I think for the goal that we conceded, the first goal that we conceded, I think Xavi Simons must do much, much, much more in pressing the defender and not allowing him to cross, because it was the same mistake that we saw with Igor Tudor's second game in charge against Fulham. It was also Xavi Simons playing that left midfield role where he didn't press Alex Iwobi, who found the back of the net. So in those moments, he can be so frustrating. But on the other hand, he produced a fantastic assist. He scored a fantastic goal, and he could have scored another goal in the first half, hitting the post. So overall, I was quite happy, not just with this goal, but overall Xavi Simons' performance. And it was something very similar to his performance against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League, where I think that he deserved the man of the match performance.
Phil, this annoys me. I mean, this is football. Players should be allowed to celebrate and take their shirts off without getting a fucking yellow card. This so infuriates me. You can add the time on. I mean, I'm sure Ian has said that he's ex-ref and all that. But come on, this is a game of football where people want to celebrate. Let the players, I don't care if they're Spurs players, other players. If they score a goal, it's a great feeling. Let them celebrate. If you can hold your watch up, you can add the time on. I mean, what the fuck is this all about? It really annoys me.
Yeah, I've seen a few different takes on this. I mean, I've seen people being really angry with Xavi Simons and saying that, you know, okay, if it's in the last minute or the last second or something, right? Or I don't know, if it's a cup final or something, then you can do that. But you don't do that with like 12 minutes to go. I understand the point. I do understand the point, but I can't be too killjoy about that. I think, you know, football is an emotional game. Someone like Xavi Simons, in that moment, you know, with a goal like that, that was almost like him announcing himself, right, to the Tottenham fans at home properly. You know, to go 2-1 up, probably going to win. You know, and emotion sometimes takes over. You heard the noise in the stadium. You saw the limbs in the south stand. My God, I personally, I can't be too critical about that. You know, in those moments, you know, he's a flair player. You can see he's an emotional player. He's not like, you know, he's not, how can I say it? You know what I mean, right? You can see how he is. You know, he plays like a Brazilian, you know, kind of how he is. And he also acts a bit like a Brazilian, right? In terms of his mentality and everything else, right? So I can't take it away from him. Yeah, in hindsight, of course, it looks a bit silly because we didn't win the game, and I don't know, he got cramp after that, or I don't know, these kind of things. But why not? Like, I mean, in those moments, you don't know what it feels like, and if he wants to go and celebrate with the fans, then do it. And I think most of the people in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium would have been quite happy with that moment. But I do know that there'll be a lot of people who will say he shouldn't be doing that. He's got himself a stupid yellow card and he should just pick up the ball and run back to the centre circle and kick off again. I get it, but like, football's an emotional game, and maybe in some respects, you know, nowadays, media, do you know what I mean? Like, just do it.
We know that. I mean, I'll get Ian's take on this, and then Ian can. I know he said he's going to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
He's going to go. So I'll get your take on that yellow card, Ian, and your opinion on whether like players should on this.
Couldn't disagree with you more. The laws are the laws. The players know the laws. They're educated or taught the laws. You're not allowed to take your shirt off, and I don't understand why any player feels a need to take his shirt off. I never, when I played football, I never thought I'd take my shirt off till I got in the changing rooms. What is that about? You jump into the crowd, it can be dangerous and what have you. The players know the laws. You can argue about the stupidity of the laws to get FIFA to change them. I just not impressed with Simmons getting that yellow card, but I understand the emotion and I understand the point you're making. Channel the aggression. Channel the joy. Celebrate with the fans. Celebrate with your teammates. Keep your shirt on. Stay out of the crowd. Don't get a yellow card. And maybe actually injured himself jumping up on the south stand there.
Okay. All right. Stats, guys. Possession.
Adrian, I'm going to leave it there.
Fair enough. Ian. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's late and I've had a long day. I've got another one tomorrow.
Right.
Thanks, guys. Thanks,
everybody.
Enjoy. Take it easy on the beach, Ian. All right. Soak it up, right?
See you. I'll be doing a show next Sunday.
Enjoy the food.
Catch you then.
Take care. See you later.
Enjoy. See you later.
Keep indulging, Ian. Just keep indulging.
Yeah. No, I nearly pressed the end stream there because somebody's got a show. Very close. Take care.
And you. Right, guys. Stats: possession, 42% to 58. Shots on target, we had 6-3. When you get the stats after a game, it always is a bit. You always find it. I didn't realize it was that, or I didn't realize it was that. You know, total shots 13-10. I mean, I wouldn't have believed that. Blocked 3 each. There were some close blocks. Corners 7-5. Clearances 32 from us, 28 from them. Interceptions 11-7. Passes, yeah. Pass accuracy, yeah. Crosses 14-28. I didn't think they had 28 crosses, but
No.
the cards 3-1. And I thought the referee was shit. But no, I did, honestly. I mean, I'm a biased fan, but look, I'm telling you it is. I thought it was poor.
Adrian? He was awful. It was
I thought it
really
was poor.
poor.
Mm.
Yellow
The-
cards, a lack of yellow cards. He didn't give them. He should have booked like that. There was one Brighton player. He should have got 4 bookings, and he gave him his first booking like in the second half. And
Yeah,
it's every
yeah.
week, though, isn't it? Every week. It's every week at the moment. Every week.
Right. We've got a fun section, guys. Now, I used to do it all the time. We had time on the show. I know these two guys have got time, so that's fine. And it's like, there's 150 of you who are on various platforms. And for those in the chat, you can join in this if you didn't midweek. What I asked these two to do is name your 3 favourite Spurs players in the current squad, injured or not, right? Now, I've been a member of the Romero Defence League. Yesterday's game, I met people in 4 different sections of the club. Kevin, like his son-in-law, his son-in-law's dad. There's Jose in there. And like they bantered me over Romero, right? Even upstairs, I got bantered everywhere, But I'm a fan, so that's fair enough. But it was all good fun. And I sort of said after the game, if Romero had been playing dance, I wouldn't have got that goal. You know what I mean? But like that was just to have a little banter back. You know what I mean? But it's in good fun. But I mean, I will never browbeat people like with my opinions, and like they certainly won't browbeat me. If I've got a firm opinion, I'm sticking to it, right? So yeah. So Martin, 3 players in the current Spurs squad that you particularly like.
Yeah, but I can pick injured ones as well, yes?
Yes, is injured or not? Yeah.
Right. So for number 1, I'm definitely going Dan Kulusevski.
Mhm.
We've missed him. We've absolutely missed him.
Okay.
I think that he would have been a difference maker in many, many games that happened. Even last season under Ange Postecoglou, if we go Everton away, yes, we lost that game, but he made an influence. Ipswich, and I could point to so many games that he influenced, and we've missed him so much. So he is my number 1 currently. I get your point. Romero used to be my favorite player, and I still rate him as an individual, as an actual player. But the thing is, you can just tell he doesn't want to be at a club like Tottenham Hotspur. You can just see that he wants to move away, whether that's to Spain or another country, and he will do fantastically. The qualities he has, it's top.
He said he loves the club, so you must have had words with him.
Yeah, but when you see him on the pitch, and
Okay. No, it's your opinion. It's fair enough.
No, definitely. But this is just my view. I think Romero needs to move on for the better, and we need to invest in a centre back that actually wants to be at a club and is consistent ultimately. So number 2, again, a player that's not really even played a part in this season, hasn't played a single minute, and that's James Maddison. I think his leadership skills are phenomenal, and we have missed that because Romero and Van der Ven, sometimes it feels like the armband's too heavy for them. And I will give one player that is in the team, and I'm struggling to pick one out. And I'm going to be a little bit controversial on this one, but I say Pedro Porro. The reason I say Pedro Porro, not for performance related in recent months, but I think he's been overplayed dramatically since he's come into the club. Under Ange Postecoglou, he was the only player of the whole entire squad that wasn't injured. And he was the player that's played the most minutes since Ange Postecoglou, since he's basically been at the club. There has been no player that has played more minutes than Pedro Porro. So he's clearly been overplayed, which is a massive issue in a lot of performances that we've seen him play. I think his qualities that he has, which are exceptional, and that is, ball crossing and his vision, have been seriously impeded in recent weeks. And that's mainly due to the fact that he needs a rest, I think. And in the long term, I think he does care about the club, and I think he is a player that you can build on. But again, he's not a right back; he's a right wing back, so that brings issues. But those would be my top 3 players, and maybe Philip's got completely different ones. I'm interested to hear both of yours.
Phil, give us your 3 and why. You got to say why. I mean, you got why you like the player as well, and you can join in the chat if you wish.
I will I will first of all, I will say there's a lot of players in the Spurs squad that I don't really have any particular affinity to, in terms of the fact that there's quite a lot of them that whatever happens end of the season, I'm not going to be, too sorry to see them go, just because I don't really have any relationship with them, if I'm being honest. But the three that I like the most, I think number one would have to be Madders. Just because I think, even though he hasn't been at the club for like even 5 years, his attitude, his character, his leadership, his way of playing, his vibes, if I can say that, like his social media, his actual, to be honest, his love of the club, ever since he joined the club, he fitted in so well, and he's really taken a little love to the club, and he speaks so positively about it. And I would like him, assuming he's fit for next season, I would like him to be our new captain next season. Realistically, he's definitely my number one. Number two, it would probably be Kulusevski. I think as well, similar. He's obviously been a big performer for us over multiple seasons. He's scored goals. He works hard. I love his attitude. He's a never say die, but he's got that little flair element. He can do special things. He's committed. He also says good things about the club, and he's close to the fans. And I think he became a bit of a cult hero, before he unfortunately got his injury, right? No one expected him to be out as long as he has been, which has been really, really tough, I think, for everyone. He'll be my number two. And I hope he recovers, obviously, and I hope we see him play like 30 games, next season. Number three. This is maybe tougher, but I'll probably give this to Archie Gray. In terms of the fact that I think Archie Gray, well, I love him as a player. I think he's going to be a future Spurs captain, assuming we keep him like that long. I think he can go the full way with England. He can be a regular in the England team. He can play anywhere in the team. He's happy to play anywhere in the team. He never complains. He's 18 or 19, I think now. But he just gets on with it. And he's a nice guy, like really nice guy. He's very humble. He's not a show off. Yeah, he'll be my number three. There'd probably be one or two others that I could put into my top 5 or 6, but after that, there'd probably be quite a long gap. And I would just say, to be honest with you, I'm not really.
Yeah, I think it would throw Kudus and players like that. My number one player is Kulusevski, for all the reasons you've both stated. I just think it's a fantastic, complete all-round footballer. And I think fans that have criticised Kulusevski and Maddison, I think now they've seen how much we've missed those players, right? And so they've had a different perspective on it. Number two for me, when he's in form, I just think this guy could become one of the best left-sided defenders on the planet if he can stay injury-free, as Udogie. I'm a big fan of Udogie. And you've both alluded to Archie Gray. I watched him in the Championship. I've watched this kid and look, I've been wrong about players. I thought Noel John and Iago Santiago would do well with through the under-21s, and they're both in the Spanish second division now. So, I've been in the mud as much, probably as many times as I've been right. Yeah, especially with my team selections. I never get them right because I think I'm picking them what I'd pick rather than what the manager might pick, So that's the problem I have. But I'll still do it because it's fun. So that's those three, yeah? Now, this is a fun section. You two haven't done this, and we used to do it with all the others. Now, we're going to go through one question at a time each, like we do question 1, 2, 3, and 4. Question 5, for the 160 of you watching us listening to us on various platforms. Question 5, Room 8082. For those of you who may be familiar with George Orwell's book, 1984, there's a room in there which had a BBC programme called Room 101, where guests were allowed to come on and throw 3 things in Room 101. That was if the host would allow them, and he didn't always allow them. So with Room 1882, guests get the chance here to throw someone in to do with football or whatever. It could be a referee, a pundit, a player, anyone like that, and they can throw them into room 1882. This is why I like to get the chat involved as well, if they could be bothered as well. So, Martin, we'll start with you. How did you become a Spurs fan?
That's a fantastic question. Right. So I hope you won't judge me when I explain it, but basically,
We will. They're very judgmental. Spurs fans.
right. So I'll give you the full showdown. Okay. So of course I'm from Slovakia, and here football isn't really one of the top sports, and in my family, no one's really a sports fan. Well, a football fan, should I say? So the only player that played in the Premier League at the time was Martin Skrtel. So I was a Liverpool fan actually, and my friend had a spare ticket to go to Tottenham Hotspur against Birmingham City in 2011. It was the final game of the season, and we ended up winning 2-1. Pavlyuchenko scored 2 goals. He scored a last-minute winner, and we basically sent Birmingham City down into the Championship. And that was the first game I ever attended. And since then, I've been a Tottenham fan and haven't looked back, haven't regretted it. A lot of people ask if I regret being a Spurs fan. Well, I don't. Even though it is a lot of suffering, I would never change Tottenham Hotspur colours, and I never will change Tottenham Hotspur colours. That is the simple reality, regardless if we're in the Championship, if we're wherever. I would never, ever change supporting Tottenham, and I've met so many fantastic...
Well, there is a saying, Martin, you change your family, you may change your friends, right? You may change your wife, but you never change your football club.
Yeah, exactly. There was a player, Totti, wasn't it, at Roma? I think he was cheating on his girlfriend, but he said he'd never cheat on his club. So since then, I've not looked back, and it's given me a platform. It's given me opportunities to speak to you guys, to have a community. And I've got a girlfriend, and we attend. Well, before I had a girlfriend, I always attended. Let me give you one more information. So I lived in England for 15 years, moved back to Slovakia in 2017. And since then, every year I go and watch Tottenham Hotspur once a season with my 2 friends who are both still living in England. And now that I've got a girlfriend, we also go every year together to watch Tottenham Hotspur, and she loves it. It's the best thing about London, she said.
It's good to see women and girls at football. It's great to see them at football.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting her to enjoy it as much as she does, and we watched football. We watched Tottenham together. So that's that. And do I continue answering the questions, or is
no?
it
No. We do question 1. We'll have to do question
Lovely.
1.
So that's my journey.
So Phil, how did you become a Spurs fan?
Well, probably unlike a lot of people who, follow the team of, their dad or, granddad or something like that. My dad doesn't even really like football that much. He prefers other sports. And he doesn't even really have a favorite football team, from being a kid. I mean, he watches Spurs and stuff nowadays, right? But so I didn't get it from him. But when I was at primary school in the 80s, like late 80s or mid to late 80s, so I was like 7. It was the season when Clive Allen was around, and we were going for the domestic treble or even the quadruple back then. And I think we didn't win anything, did we, in the end? I can't remember if David Pleat was potentially the manager at that time. And anyway, in my primary school, coming from just west of London, most of the fans were either Tottenham or Liverpool fans, or not really Arsenal, actually. Not really Arsenal fans or Chelsea, some Man United. It was either Man United, Liverpool or Tottenham. And I remember coming into classroom one time and saying that Glenn Hoddle had scored and Tottenham had beaten Liverpool. And all of the Tottenham lads in the classroom all got together, and I joined them. And I became part of the Spurs crew as a 7-year-old or as a 6-year-old or whatever it was. And then I went to my first game in 1988, I think, or 1989, as an 8-year-old or something. And then obviously saw the FA Cup win in 91 and 92 and all that kind of stuff. So I don't have like loads of Spurs fans in my family or anything. Yeah, bit different
Well,
maybe.
yeah, I've always lived in Edmonton, North London, and back in the day, then you didn't have Sky and all this. So fans didn't know that Real Madrid were Real Madrid, and they didn't know about foreign great sides, and you supported the team more in your local area, you know, and things like that. And with me, I mean, you didn't really get a choice. It was either Spurs or the orphanage, you know what I mean? So like that's the way it works. Question 2. Now you'll have loads of these, Martin. A favourite Spurs win? Any win? Any favourite win?
Right, in modern history, of course, it's got to be the Europa League final, but
Mhm.
that's too obvious. I'd say the North London derby win under Antonio Conte. I think that just has such a vibe to it. I'd say that's arguably my favourite Spurs win.
Yeah.
It just felt
3-0, yeah.
3-0, and it was full control, and we absolutely played them off the park. So I don't want to say the Europa League final. I don't want to say no run in the Champions League either. I'm going to stick with the North London derby
It was the
2022.
loudest I've ever heard that stadium. Oh, they bottled wanting to play us early because of COVID, because they had one player with COVID when we had like half our team out and we couldn't get a game suspended. Yeah. So a favourite Spurs win, Phil?
Oh,
Anyone?
yeah. There's loads, but one that sticks in a memory for being particularly enjoyable in the moment was when we beat Man City to qualify for the Champions League when Crouchy scored that header, right? Like in the 85th, 86th minute?
Yeah.
Like we thought it was over. Like we had to win, didn't we? We had to win to get the Champions League because for the first time, and he got that header. And like I watched that in a Spurs pub, and I've never seen like celebrations like when that goal went in because we all realised what it meant, you know, for the
The
club.
interesting thing, at the end of that season, them games, we had to play Chelsea, Arsenal, and everyone said, we haven't got a prayer. And we got through them all. And then we got a Man City, like, you won't win there. And we won there as well. Yeah. Yeah, it was brilliant.
So, probably there's loads.
Let's go to the Lucas Moura in Amsterdam. Yeah. That's a classic one.
That's
that and replay. Like I'll pick. I've got loads to pick out, but I can do when I've got other guests. I've got to pick other things. Right. So mine. Now you'll have hundreds of these. A favourite Spurs goal. Just pick one.
Well, it's hard to pick one, isn't it?
I know, but you've got to, right?
Yeah. Right. The one that's
was at that game, Warren J. Go on. Sorry.
No worries. I'm still thinking. I'm glad that you interrupted me. All right, it's got to be Brennan Johnson last summer, Bilbao.
Fair enough. Phil, pick a favourite goal.
Oh, again, I could mention 20, but the one that I'm going to pick would be that Harry Kane goal at the Old Lane in the North London derby when he was wearing his mask.
Whipped it off, yeah.
And he picked it up near the corner flag and he took it inside and he whipped it top corner off the post, whipped the mask off and slid in front of the fans. And I swear again, like the noise levels, the vibes, unbelievable. And we won that game as well. Yeah, that would be an amazing goal. Yeah.
I'll pick Ricky Vila's second goal in the cup final when he weaved in and put it in the net. I mean, I think it's still voted the best goal at Wembley, isn't it? But I'll pick that because it's an easy pick. But in case you come, you will be back, you guys. When you do, just bear in mind, bring some history with you because you'll be asked again. Right, that's the favourite. Now, you'll have hundreds of these. A favourite Spurs player, Martin? Anyone?
Right, mine is in the mix of Dele Alli and Harry Kane. It might sound surprising, Dele Alli, you know, and of course, you know, his career did fall off a cliff. But at the time of 2017, 18, 19, I thought it was phenomenal. And I really, really thought we had like a gem on our hands that would go right to the top. But Another player that made me fall in love with the club was Gareth Bale, actually. So
Yeah.
I'm really torn on this, but I'm going to go with Harry Kane. The only issue with Harry Kane was there were a lot of summers where there was a lot of sort of ambiguity whether he's staying or not, and that was really a little bit frustrating. And if we didn't have that with him, I would love him slightly more. But he is by far my favourite Spurs player, the most complete player. It was just a joy to watch him play, and it still is under Bayern Munich.
Phil, a favourite Spurs player?
Again, too many to mention, but I'm going to go.
Save the others for later.
Yeah. There's a difference between the greatest Spurs player as well, but one of my favourites from the 90s, watching him like every week, was David Ginola.
Yeah, he got the footballers right around the players in 94, 95 or something. He got both when he came to.
He won Player of the Year, both of them in that season.
Football Writers of the Year, yeah.
And he scored wonder goal after wonder goal. He always had his socks, rolled down, his collar up, like Cantona style. His L'Oreal locks, tumbling down. David Ginola. Sorry, just to mention, that was the days, or that was an example of that Spurs kind of player that we had, that player that you can give the ball to, like Xavi did.
Maverick players.
Maverick, he fits in. Maybe you just give him the ball and he does something, literally.
My favourite player is the best player England have ever produced, and that's Glenn Hoddle. Anyone should go and watch his videos. Watch him with a ball on a mud bath. Just watch him. As Glenn said, he said he wasn't a great goal scorer, but he was a scorer of great goals. If you want to pick goals out for a future show, you could virtually pick all of his. They're all like either the free kicks or whatever. I mean, like it was just phenomenal. So Glenn Hoddle. Now this is fun, right? Room 1882. Who has really pissed you off with football, pundit wise or whatever? I mean, you've got Jason Cundy and Adrian Durham. You've got the referee that just allowed the goal in a Champions League final. There's so many. Matty Cash for doing Bentancur. There's I'm sure. But when you try and think of these, it's not that easy as it happens. But like, pick someone who's going to go in room 1882.
This is a difficult one. It really is, isn't it? With fantastic questions. I really like this style of podcast. Yeah, you mentioned a great one, Matty Cash, twice, not once, because the first one was Matt Doherty, didn't he? Broke his leg against what? When we were, I think it was away from home at Villa Park, actually, when it happened. Right, anyway. That is tough. I'm thinking of the FA Cup runs that we had in the 2018-19 season. That was quite frustrating as well. Well, you've lost me, Adrian. You really have. Philip, have you got something ready? You might want to beat me to it.
Yeah, I got too many. That's the problem. I could
Just
probably
save some others, right? Yeah, I remember that volley, Warren J. I was there.
Can I say?
Right, you know what? I've got one, Philip. I've got one.
Go on then.
I'm going to say the refereeing decision to give the penalty in the Champions League final with Sissoko's handball.
Yeah, it's a good call. Yeah, it was never a handball in the spirit of the game.
That one could have potentially, I'm not saying we would have gone out there and won it, but you never know. That could have changed the trajectory of the club. I really think that
Warren J's got involved here. Phil?
Can I just put like either an ex-player in there that I don't like, or just an opposition player? Because I would have said like Thierry Henry first of all, but then I guess I could put Sol Campbell in there, couldn't I?
Yeah.
I'll put Sol Campbell in there then. To be honest,
that's a great.
Still hate him. Zero respect and zero class. That's what I'll say about it.
I'll put Jason Cundy in there because, I know they do it to be provocative and to get people to phone in the show, But I remember when Huddersfield were in the Premier League and he called them Cruddersfield and things. It's so disrespectful. And you got to respect other clubs out there. All right, you want to beat them when you play them. That's fair enough, right? But I just find him just totally disrespectful with football in general. So
that whole show, Adrian, when they're on there, you know, like taking the piss out of, you know, whoever it is who's on there, right? And he does it with Ange, doesn't he? But they do it also to, you know, the others. They do it to Arteta, don't they? They do it to, you know, it's so yeah, it's juvenile. It's so like it's so unfunny, actually. To be honest, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not really funny.
Guys, I mean, I've stolen Ian's show. Well, he gave it to me this week because he's synthesizing on a beach in Sorrento, drinking sickly cocktails and eating great food, right? So we're not jealous, right? It's been a fantastic show. I mean, we've got 160 of you on various platforms. I hate to leave you, you know, but we've been going for just 2 hours dead. So, I mean, my next show is Friday. I only do a midweek show if there's something worth talking about on Spurs Diets. We don't do a show for the sake of it, just to come on and waffle. I mean, big shows, a lot of shows that are massive. I mean, they have to find content and put it out all the time. I get that. We don't knock them. I'm not knocking them on the stars. There's so many good shows out there, and they've all got a different tone and a different style to them, you know, the way they're produced and, like, you know, presented. So, and fair play to any well-intentioned Spurs fans out there and the shows they run, you know, so no issue with any of those. Yeah. But it's been great, guys. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I do. I'm sure Ian did as well. Yeah, and we will get you back, because once you're in their clutches, you never get away. Just on that, though, on the banners, I mean, you can find Phil and Martin on Project Spurs with Gary Ward and Callum and Si. I hope you're feeling better, Si, and Si and that, and Joseph and that. And so get over to Project Spurs. They're a new show. They need to get their numbers up as well, as we do as well, you know. So, yeah, and you obviously you can find those guys on our shows as well. It's just a question when we're available to go on theirs and when they're available to go on ours. We don't clash much, but, you know, when I'm at games, I'm meeting too many groups of people to, like, rush home and be on a show and things like that. So, yeah. So it's been fantastic. I want to thank the 160 of you. Like I said, you can see the red subscribe button in the bottom right corner. If you can just subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up, it really helps the show. You get the content we've shown you today. You know, we've enjoyed it. We hope you've enjoyed it as well. You know, big up to everyone in the chat for your comments and for joining in. Yeah, big up to everyone who watches on playback. And yeah, all I can say is thank you for your support. And we'll definitely be going Friday and then be back Sunday. And yeah, come on, you Spurs, and I'll end the stream.
We're staying up. We're staying up.
That's what we want to hear. Positivity.
We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die, hearts, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. Tottenham till we die. Spurs die, hearts, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die, hearts, heart and soul. Die, hearts, hearts.